The terrifying reality of the terror legislation was brought home again this in the last couple of days by the arrest of Natalie Striker in Jersey. Now, I'm hoping that Natalie's on the call and we can see her. Oh, you're there. Great.
I
How?
am. Good morning, Kristen.
Thank,
Sorry, I'm
thank
having
you.
to hold my phone because in the search they've broken the little tripod that holds my phone. So yeah, just so you know that it might be a bit wobbly.
Oh, that's understandable. So they took all your phone and what your laptops and everything.
Absolutely everything, and they took all my notebooks, like every single one. So that's going to be interesting reading for them because some of it's about dreams. And when I attended a psilocybin retreat that I was gifted, and yeah, so that's interesting. But what they took a t-shirt because it had written in Arabic, "You'll never walk alone." They took a book in that I had to learn Arabic. I don't know if they think it's some prescribed group's phrase book, but yeah, absolutely everything. I have no means. I've had to buy a new, like, really basic phone. I can't access anything. I can't access any of my social media accounts. I've set up one just to observe. So I
Right.
understand what's being put out there, but yeah, it's yeah.
But I mean, it sounds well. It's kind of unsettled you and what you do for posting and giving information. People have been contacting me wondering if you're okay. How can you get any information on Natalie? Is she all right? Well, obviously you are, but what happened? Can you tell us how it all
How it all
came about?
unfolded. Well,
Yeah.
it's part of a relentless campaign against me, Crispin. I'll go through what happened first and explain what's been happening because it's just been non-stop, absolutely non-stop attacks at work and everything. So what happened was on about 6:30 on Friday morning, there was a banging at the door. And I jumped up and went to the door and I saw well, at first I just saw two police officers because I've got a really small door. I live in a very small flat. And I thought something had happened to like my sister or some Carl's family or something. I was like, oh, what's happened? And then they said they confirmed who I was and said you're under arrest. Under the terror. I can't remember exactly how they worded it, but basically it's the same thing Haim Breshif was arrested for. So it was under the Terrorism Act for inviting support for prescribed groups. We got a warrant for your arrest and they came in. I mean, there were six of them. I said to them, well, you're making me look to be much more badass than I am. I mean, and then I was just like, this is total insanity. I said, you are arresting a middle-aged woman peace activist, whilst there are literal, people who are walking around our community who are part of an army or served in an army that's under investigation for genocide. I said, have we all gone mad? I said I knew fascism was arriving. I just didn't realize it would be quite as early in Jersey. So they, yeah, they explained to me that obviously they had a warrant to search everything and that I needed to go down a police station. They were good, as in they didn't put handcuffs on me. They said we think that you'll go through peacefully. So they took me and I was put in the back of a van. Um, yeah, like it was just absolutely ridiculous. And then lots of other police officers came here. My husband had to stay in for 4 hours whilst they went through everything, and it was quite traumatic for him as well because he obviously, I mean, he's not political at all. He's not nothing like me, my husband's. But it was really traumatic for him to see going through absolutely everything that you possibly have in our tiny flat. But I was taken down to the police station. Obviously, they went through all my rights and all the rest of it, but I felt I couldn't take legal advice because there's been a lawyer who's a senior associate at Ogier Lawyers over here, has been relentlessly going for me and the stuff he's been saying about me, he's been tagging my work. It's been, so I was scared about who might be on, and unlike in the UK where obviously they have a list of lawyers for these purposes, you know, we don't have experience of that over here. So I ended up just going in without legal support, but I was very sort of stuck to what I knew and understood. And yeah, so they made me wait for about 3 hours. Like I was in a cell. I didn't realize you weren't allowed like rolls of toilet paper when you want to go to the loo. Obviously, it's just on the side. You're in one cell, everything's in there. You've got to ask for toilet paper. To be fair to the officers, most of them, apart from one, were actually they were respectful of me. I think they did as best as they could. Some of the police officers who came in looked embarrassed, which they should be. I mean, one of them said, you know, we're just doing our job. And I said, and so were the Nazis, but it didn't hold up as an argument in court. But it was just utter insanity. I was interrogated at first for 4 hours, and then they made me stew for another hour, and then I went in again. Towards the end, I was getting so tired, and there was some questions which were just totally out of order. I just said, well, not out of order. I wasn't. I thought they weren't right, and I then asked for legal representation, at which point they said, oh, it's okay, it's coming to the close, we'll be rounding up. And then I had to go back and wait. And then I was finally released. I think I got to the station about 7:30, maybe before then, and I was finally released at about 7:30. So I was in custody for 12 hours, and then I was released without charge, but under bail conditions. So I've got to go back on the 21st of January. And I've been given some bail conditions, which is more, I'm not allowed to like move address without their permission. And I'm not allowed to attend any events that support prescribed organizations or protest. And I'm not allowed to use any slogans or anything sort of related to prescribed organizations. That's kind of what I've been given.
So do you, I
So
mean, but you haven't been doing that anyway, have you? You've just been
no,
in person.
it is utter insanity. I mean, it is so, and I was saying this, it is utter insanity. And everyone can look at my timeline and ask themselves, when have I given support for terrorism or for prescribed organizations? What I have acknowledged is resistance. The people who are occupied have the legal right under international law to resist their occupation, just like, you know, we're told Ukraine has, and they're giving arms to Ukraine to resist because of their, obviously being occupied. So, I mean, it's an utter nonsense. The whole exposure of the total hypocrisy and the total, like I was just listening to what Jackie said about the mafia state. And I've said this for a while. We don't have a government. We have a criminal enterprise. You know, it is utterly, utterly insane that I would be the terrorist while our government is literally funding, arming, facilitating a genocide. I know there's a legal case that's been put together to hold them to account for this, but it's just utter insanity.
Mm. So how have you been since? I mean, this was on Friday then. So what?
Yeah, exhausted, but you know, it's tiring work, Crispin, being a terrorist. I mean, it's just insane. I'm exhausted. Obviously, it's not nice. It was traumatic. But you know, when I was sitting in the cell, I was thinking about all the things that Palestinians, Lebanese, and others are going through, and just going, this is nothing compared to them, and I'm mindful of that, and it's for this that we do it. And actually, I was thinking of Julian Assange as well as I was sitting there and just thinking about that. And I thought I've got some real insight into what that looks like for people when you have your liberties just on that scale sort of denied from you. And I think that that was probably quite a powerful thing for me. And actually, what it has done is made me more steadfast. So I am exhausted and tired. I've got a meeting with my work tomorrow. I'm going to be getting suspended from work. So yeah, it's just it is, yeah, it's exhausting. But what I would say to people is that we have got to just stand up. We double down. The more they come for us, the more we double down, because it won't end here. And solidarity is what will save us. We've got to keep going and find courage and strength in all those who came before us. And I often say this to people, that we have a tendency as human beings to put our heroes on pedestals and imagine they had, special powers or qualities, or, were superheroes. And actually, the reality is they were flawed human beings, just like us, but they had an absolute commitment to their cause. They felt fear, but they did it anyway. And that would be my encouragement for everybody, is to take strength and find inspiration in your heroes, and really to, you might feel fearful, but be more fearful about the possibility of what would happen, or not the possibility, the reality of what would happen if we fail.
Yeah, people are asking why are you being suspended at work? Is it to do with the arrest?
It's because I work for the government. Yeah, it'll be to do with the arrest, because I'm under, obviously for my job I need a DBS check. So it'll probably be looked too bad to have me still working whilst I am under investigation for a terrorism offence. I mean, I got a lot. There is part of me that just thinks, and actually, my good friend, Yonatan Shapira, he's an Israeli dissident. Um, he was saying we've got to mock them, and it's true. Oh, scary middle-aged, terrorist Natalie Striker in the Channel Islands. Asking people to comply with international law. That's how frightening I am, Crispin. You know.
Now, look, one other I've got a question for you before we end. Can you come to London for a curry where we'll you can get free curry, and you'll have Asa Winstanley, Sarah Wilkinson, Haim Rashid will be there. Would you?
I love Haim. He's a good friend of mine, Haim. I know that Asa and Sarah as well. They're
We
amazing and
could
solid.
find a way to get pay for your accommodation. What do you
Oh,
think?
yeah, that'd be amazing. It looks like I'm going to have some free time on my hands for a little bit. So yeah,
Well, I hope you
I'm all
can
up
come
for a free
over.
curry as long as it's vegetarian. I'm all up for that.
I mean, it's all right to see people showing solidarity on a Zoom, but you need to see it in a room. And curry's a good way to keep warm in the winter.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Thank you, Crispin. I would absolutely, that'd be an absolute honor, and I'd love that. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Sometimes it's about like, and actually, I had a good chat with Chris Williamson yesterday. He's a good friend of mine, and I love him dearly. And he was, I said to him, I felt so alone. I mean, obviously, part of it, I was in absolutely hysterical tears at one point. Um, and he said to me, and that's the thing, when you're in your cell, you do feel totally alone because you don't realize the support that's outside. And I just want to say thank you to you, Crispin, and to all, because people have been sort of sharing with me sort of messages of support I've got, and it means everything. And people have asked me, I've had people phone now, I've got a new number, asking me how they can support. And I said, well, in the first instance, it's just knowing that you're supported, just encouraging me and reminding me of stuff. And I think that I am supported, and why I'm doing this. And I know why. I'm not going to stop. I'm steadfast. All they've done now is piss me off, to be honest, Crispin. I've always tried to play it fairly nice, that because I try to be that person. Like I said, I try to role model for to bring about a kinder world is really my intention for everything. But now they'll get to see my teeth, and we'll see how that goes.